Starting this fall, the City of Elmhurst will begin a citywide water meter changeout project requiring all residential and commercial water meters to be replaced. This project is needed because the majority of the city's meters are over 25 years old and have exceeded their life expectancy. The city has experienced many years of 18 to 20% of unaccounted for water. The city has hired Siemens as contractors to replace all water meters with highly accurate, non-moving part mechanical water meters that will aid in detecting leaks. The new water meters have the ability to provide on-demand reads as well as leak and tampering alerts and early identification of leaks before they surface. A customer portal will also be available for residents to electronically monitor for leaks and manage their water consumption online. Elmhurst water customers can expect to receive an introductory letter with project information. Project updates will regularly be posted on the city's website and social media pages. Residents are also encouraged to attend informational open house events that will be scheduled at City Hall. The water meter changeout project is expected to occur through spring of 2018 and is mandatory for all residents and businesses. The project will be completed in sections throughout the city. When Siemens is approaching a neighborhood, residents in the area will be sent a series of postcards requesting to schedule an appointment. Residents are asked to be responsive and schedule an appointment once this notification is received. The new water meter will be installed at no additional cost. Residents will be expected to have an adult over the age of 18 years old home at the time of appointment, which should take no more than 30 minutes to complete. Residents should attempt to locate their water meter in advance and ensure the meter is accessible for Siemens at the time of the appointment. On the date of the water meter changeout, the resident should take precautions and look for the logo on the installer's uniform and vehicle and make sure the installer's ID is visible before allowing the installer to enter the home. All of Siemens installers will be identified with an ID badge and will be driving marked vehicles. They will also be wearing project shirts with the project logo. Once the installer enters the home, residents will be asked to guide the installer to the location of the water meter. The installer will take the following steps to complete the water meter changeout. First, the installer will turn the water off at the main valve. Then the installer will exchange the old meter with the new meter. The installer will then turn the water back on, confirm proper flow direction, and inspect the installation to make sure no leaks are visible. The installer will connect the communication wire to the new meter and test to make sure a meter reading can be obtained. Finally, the installer will ensure that the work area is clean around the new water meter before leaving. During the installation process, the installer will take pictures of the old and new water meter. Once the water meter installation is complete, the installer will give the resident information on how to read the new meter and gain access to an online program called WaterSmart. WaterSmart is an online portal where residents can view account information, monitor daily water consumption, detect leaks, and set up notification alerts. The installer will also give the resident information on how to complete a customer service survey. Once the water meter is replaced, residents will receive a bill that will look the same as previous bills, but will include any remaining water use on the old meter, along with any cumulative use on the new meter. All subsequent bills will only include use from the new meter. A noticeable difference in the new bill will include uses registered in gallons versus cubic meters. Any billing questions should be directed to the city's utility billing department by calling 630-530-3111. The City of Elmhurst would like to thank all water customers for their cooperation during this important city project. Please visit www.elmhurst.org/water-meter-changeout for more information and to find out what area Siemens is currently working in. For questions on the installation process, please contact Siemens at 866-260-3176.
morning, everyone. First, I'd like to invite our post commander, John Scudder, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Hal Cahill? I haven't seen Hal. He was supposed to do the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, if he gets there, then we'll do it then. So we'll move on. Please be seated. My name is Bill Shanklin. I'm the Master of Ceremonies today. Mr. Russ Strahan is our Officer of the Day. Each year for the past several years, we have been providing veterans for one of the classes for Elmhurst College. And for the past few years, we've been asking the students, a couple of students, to come and talk about their experience. So at this time, I didn't do that. I would like to invite the college students to come up. Matt Peterson and Kaylee Valencia. Thank
you. Good morning. Beautiful autumn weather we're having today. I just want to thank everyone for coming here today and letting myself, Kiala, and Dr. Walsh share today with you. I know it's an incredible honor for us to be here today. And of course, Mr. Shanklin, thank you, and the American Legion, Elmhurst American Legion, for having us today. Within the last month, myself and a classroom of about 15 other students had the opportunity to hear from 4 different veterans speak about their service to this country. They consisted of both service personnel and reservists. They discussed their part in conflicts ranging from the Vietnam War to today's conflicts in the Middle East. They discussed their different paths of service to this country with great pride and understandable greatness. But that word service, I think many veterans and service personnel hold that word to a very high standard today. And why shouldn't they? It's a word that represents all we stand for as Americans. Integrity, honor, duty, courage, and of course, sacrifice. These values that make this country the greatest it is on earth. Service. A word we hear so frequently among our veterans and servicemen and women today is a word, unfortunately, we hear far too seldom of among our youth. The devotion these speakers had for service was something I had rarely seen before personally. I have distant family members that have served, but we really have never talked about it, nor did I ever feel comfortable bringing up the topic. And I know that I'm not unique in that regard. Giving back is just not as common as it used to be. Many of my peers in that class have given little thought to getting involved in community organizations and philanthropy, let alone the military, myself included. But as my class led the discussion further and further over service, I began to grasp the importance of it. If we as Americans and as a generation are to appreciate our country, we need to appreciate service. If we are to appreciate our communities we live in, we need to appreciate service. If we are to appreciate each other as Americans, we need to appreciate service, and not only appreciate it, but to act on it with whatever means we can, big or small. But to start this shift for our youth to once more value service, we must educate them on what service truly means. Our veterans, share your stories. And not only to family and friends, but to the public. We must start to spread the awareness of our duty as American citizens. Our duty to serve. Service to our country, service to our community, and service to our neighbor. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm quite short. Hello, everybody. My name is Kiala Valencia, and I'm currently a freshman at Elmhurst College. I'd like to start by saying good morning to everybody, welcome, and thank you, of course, to the veterans that have put their lives on the line to keep and make America the great country that it is today. I'd also like to thank Bill Shanklin for visiting my classroom and giving me and my fellow peers more perspective into the world of those who have served, and of course, giving me the opportunity to speak before you all today. I actually have many family members and friends that have served or are currently serving in the armed forces. I have a near and dear friend of mine, my age, who ever since I knew him has always wanted to be in the military, truly a modern-day Yankee. He had worked so hard for the past few years, and I'm glad to say that this past Thursday he's graduated from Fort Leonard Wood and is officially a member of the military police. And I couldn't be any more proud of him. My dad also had the wonderful opportunity to serve this great country. Right out of high school, my dad went under naval training and schooling at Naval Station Orlando, Florida. The first ship that he was assigned was the USS Abraham Lincoln and was stationed in Yokosuka, Japan. After his service, he married my mom, finished college, started his own company, had me. He had my brother too, but not important. These are two people in my life that are a generation or two apart. They both followed the same timelines. Both are from very different generations, but when I asked my dad and my friend what they took from their military training, they both had very similar answers: determination, respect, and a love for their country. There are many differences between generations. Younger generations clash with older generations and vice versa, but I believe that there is one trait that stays true through all ages, and that's patriotism. No matter what hardships we all go through, we can all still come together and be confident that we are in the best country, given the best opportunities, and of course, the best military to keep it that way. Thank you all so much for your service, and God bless.
Thank you very much. Now, if you'd please rise, we're going to have the Star Spangled Banner by Mr. Hal Cahill. Raise that. Huh.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Huh. Color guard, take your post. Please be seated. Well, we have a visitor with us today that I haven't seen for a while, Gunnery Sergeant Jack Kamek. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you for being here. Happy birthday, Marine Corps. Our ceremony is going to be a little different today. As most of you probably know, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, every Sunday we try to do a memorial for a deceased veteran. And we had a special request this year. A lady wanted to honor her husband, a Vietnam veteran, highly decorated, and she wanted to do it on the anniversary of his Bronze Star. So we made a special accommodation for her. Today you're going to see the second part of that ceremony. I'd like the honor guard, take your posts. Be prepared to do the ceremony. Over there. Honor guard, hut, T.H., hut. Mark time, march. At the half step, forward, march. Honor guard, halt. Parade, rest. This service is being conducted by the Elmhurst American Legion, T.H.B. Post 187. This is a two-part ceremony. First, we're going to retire the flag that's been flying for the past couple of weeks for Specialist 5 Larry D. Boys. Then we will raise another flag in honor of all veterans. Honor guard, hut, head, hut. Mark time, march. At the half step, forward, march. Larry D. Boys died November 28, 2011. He was a Vietnam War veteran. Boys entered the service on September 20th, 1966, attaining the rank of Specialist 5, and was discharged on September 19th, 1969. He served as a medical aidman and received the Bronze Star Medal with the 1st Oak Leaf Cluster for various actions on October 14th, 1967. He also received the Combat Medical Badge, Vietnam Service Medal with 3 Bronze Service Stars, Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal, the Expert Rifle Badge and Marksman for the pistol, and the Good Conduct Medal. Prepare to lower the flag. Lower the flag. Praise it. Hoods. Order. Hooks. march. To the roll of remembrance, march. Oh, I'm sorry. Brad, get the flags. Sorry, snafu number 9. Raise the colors, bugler, to the colors, present, horns. Order, punch. Mark time, march. To the roll of remembrance, march. Honor guard, halt. Left, face. Honor, salute. Ready? 2. Larry, we will always remember. Mark time, march. Right turn, march. At the half step. Forward, march. At this time, I would like to invite Bob Bonzino, best friend of Larry, to say just a couple of words, and then we're going to ask Mr. Ralph Pechanio to come up and talk a little bit about this service. Please be seated.
I'm a little short also, but I'm not sorry. Good morning to all of you who have made this special effort to be here today to honor our nation's veterans. Thank you for being here. A few weeks ago here at Wilder Park, the Elmhurst American Legion family and friends of Larry Boys gathered to raise the flag in his honor. His military accomplishments have been on display here ever since, and today we have just retired the flag in his name. His wife Teresa and beautiful family asked me if I'd like to say a few words about Larry this morning, and I'm very honored to be able to do so. I was going to speak about veterans in general and what Veterans Day means to us, but I'm sure the other distinguished speakers this morning will eloquently talk about that in just a few minutes. So please let me tell you a little about the veteran, Larry Boys. Larry and I lived in Elmhurst for most of our childhood, became friends in the 7th grade. We graduated from York Community High School. We went on our separate ways to different universities to be reunited the next fun-filled summer. As fate would have it, we both received a call from our local Army recruiter. Some of you may remember him, Hoot Gibson. He informed us we were about to be drafted. He encouraged us to join the Army. The extra year commitment would offer us choices to see exciting parts of the world other than Vietnam. We decided to do so, and on the morning of September 20th, 1966, at 5:30 a.m. sharp, we were inducted into the United States Army. We had little idea where this journey would take us. We trained together at Fort Campbell and later at Fort Knox. Again, we went our separate ways. Larry had more interest in helping people than shooting at them, and decided to volunteer to train as an Army combat medic at Fort Sam Houston in Texas. Not long after successfully completing that training, he was assigned to the 1st Cavalry Division, and in June of 1967, he was on his way to Vietnam. In combat, he distinguished himself many times that year and was awarded, as you have heard, the Bronze Star for his courage, valor, and bravery. I'm sure many of you know veterans who've received commendations, and certainly you have seen soldiers wear their decorations on the chest of their dress uniforms. But I'm guessing few have ever read or heard the formal citations of these brave men and women who serve our country when called upon. I'd like to read to you now Larry's Bronze Star citation. It will help you really understand up close and personal what veterans have done and continue to do for us and our country. Please indulge me. Awarded the Bronze Star Medal with V device for heroism in connection with military operations against a hostile force in the Republic of Vietnam. Specialist 4 Boys distinguished himself by exceptionally valorous action on 14th of October 1967, while serving as a medical aidman with Company B, 2nd Battalion, 12th Cavalry, during a search and destroy mission near Quai Son, Republic of Vietnam. When his platoon became pinned down by intense hostile fire and his unit sustained several casualties, Specialist Boys repeatedly exposed himself to enemy fire in order to administer first aid to his wounded comrades. He then organized carrying parties to move the wounded men to a place of cover. Realizing that there were other wounded soldiers lying forward of his position, Specialist Boys charged across the open rice paddy to reach them. He remained exposed to enemy fire as he provided medical treatment for the wounded men. Specialist Boys' display of personal bravery and concern for the welfare of his fellow soldiers is in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflects great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Larry returned home from his military duty and settled into a normal life. He married, has children and grandchildren, and was always there to help family, friends, and neighbors. But he, like many veterans, carried the burden of his service the rest of his life until his sudden passing in November of 2011. For veterans, their service doesn't end the day we are discharged. We live with our memories till the day we die. I call it the burden of survival. We do this because we were asked to serve our country. Some volunteer, some go kicking and screaming, but we serve. It's the cost of freedom. It's a price we must pay. This is why we honor our veterans on this day every year. Today, we honor not just those who paid the ultimate price, but all the men and women who have served and are currently serving in any of our 5 armed forces. This is Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And now, Ralph Pechanio will make a couple of comments about the ceremony you just saw. Ralph is the chairman of our Elmhurst Veterans Memorial Commission. Ralph. 2 minutes. Oh, is it 11 now or 2 minutes till? Okay. Yes, please stand. We're all going to face to the east. And in memory, on the 11th month, 11th day of 11th hour, hostilities of the First World War ceased. Okay, thank you. And now, Mr. Pechanio.
As Bill described a few minutes ago, you witnessed the second part of our two-part service to honor a deceased veteran. The first part of this ceremony takes place on the previous Sunday with the recognition of the veterans' military biography in our lighted honor roll display and the raising of their service flag to half-staff. We have been conducting these services at the request of families or friends since the memorial was dedicated on Memorial Day 1993. As chairman of the Veterans Memorial Commission, it has been my honor and privilege to personally handle all the correspondence and prepare the biographies for these past 25 years. The form that we have is an easy one to complete, and any honorably discharged veteran is eligible to be honored. A schedule of Sundays between Memorial Day and Labor Day is used for these services. Please consider honoring a deserving veteran. Forms are available at the Elmhurst City Hall or at the American Legion Hall. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ralph. Now, General Wendell, for our Veterans Day prayer and a few remarks about Veterans Day.
As I saw those two very precious young ladies standing just a few moments ago, marching in time, made me think of the raising 4 children here in Elmhurst, and we have 10 grandchildren spread around the world right now. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. 99 years ago, World War I, the war to supposedly end all wars, came to a conclusion. And yet, as a child, I remember very vividly Pearl Harbor Day. November 11th didn't last that long as far as the hostilities that our world has been in and continues to be in even today. All of us gathered here on this Veterans Day in the year of our Lord 2017 do so as our way to say thank you to the American veteran. And we include those who now serve in one of the branches of our nation's 5 military services. The noble task of defending our freedom never has a day off. It is not a 9-to-5 job. It never takes a vacation. Constant vigilance and perpetual readiness are key words required in order to protect the freedom we enjoy and perhaps take for granted. We pay tribute to those men and women who have served and did not know, and those who currently serve as members of the nation's military and do not know at what point in time they may be sent into harm's way in the heat of battle. Our nation has an all-volunteer force who pledge themselves to serve with honor, regardless of the cost. I conclude with a portion of a poem called In Your Honor, to be followed by a moment of silence in honor of those who paid with their lives for our freedom, to be followed by a moment of prayer. In Your Honor goes as follows. Unselfishly, you left your fathers and your mothers. You left behind your sisters and your brothers. Leaving your beloved children and wives, you put on hold your dreams, your lives. On foreign soil you found yourself planted to fight for those whose freedom you granted. Without your sacrifice, their cause would be lost, but you carried onward, no matter the cost. Let's have just a moment of silence as we remember those who have served, especially those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice that you and I might be gathered here on this day, following which I will lead in a moment of prayer. Our Father in heaven, as we come to you this day with bowed heads and bowed hearts, we thank you for the blessing bestowed upon this great nation, and for those who have gone before, those who currently serve, and those who will serve in years and days to come, in order to guarantee the freedom that we have enjoyed and continue to enjoy in this land. I thank you for this community wherein patriotism and a tribute to those who serve is alive and well, as it ought to be throughout this nation. And so we thank you and pray for your watch, care, and protection over those who are serving, especially those in difficult areas where their lives are on the line. And all this I ask in the name of my Lord, my Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And now we'll have a musical selection by Sean Costello. Thank you, Sean. And now I'd like to invite our mayor for a few remarks. Mr. Steve Morley. In case anybody didn't know.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
For those of you following the program and are a little confused, you've never been to a ceremony that Bill Shanklin runs. We're right on schedule. You improvise, you overcome, you adapt. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Elmhurst Memorial Veterans Commission for their hard work on behalf of the city and the residents of Elmhurst for continuing to make this memorial a very special place. I would like to welcome you all to this Veterans Day service, and I'm humbled to be here along with the men and women who have served our great country. Today is a day that we honor members of our armed forces. Veterans Day celebrates the services of all military veterans. Now, for many people, this is a somber day and it's a day of respect. But I can tell you this, I always treat it as a day of celebration. a day of celebration about our great country, the United States of America, of which our backbone is our armed forces. I believe it's important to ask why we're celebrating, but not why we are honoring. Why do we have a military? George Santa Anna wrote, "Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it." As it relates to our military, the question is, why do we have one? Why do these men and women serve? We can point to the Declaration of Independence as the seminal document as to why we have the armed forces. If you haven't done so in a while, I would encourage you to read the Declaration of Independence. It's only about 1,300 words. You can read it in about 5 minutes. It's very short. It's fascinating. Every word and every sentence in there has a very specific purpose. In fact, if you read it, you will note about half of it, in today's vernacular, sometimes when parents screw up, the kids turn to them and say, "You're doing it wrong." "Dad, you're doing it wrong." I get that a lot. "Dad, you're doing it wrong." Half the Declaration of Independence is telling King George that he was doing it wrong. And our forefathers had the guts to put that in writing. In the Declaration of Independence, it states, we, and this is important, we hold these truths to be self-evident. The we is our founding fathers, the first Americans creating this great country. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A little further down, they state that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. They go even further by saying it is their right and it is their duty to throw off such a government. That is how our country was started. In doing so, they needed to form a military. However, as you can imagine, our founding fathers were a little suspect of a standing military. But back to that important word, we. Those we's at that time were the people who were creating our country. We hold these truths self-evident. Not everybody did. Certainly King George did not hold those truths self-evident. That is why we do have a permanent army, a permanent U.S. forces, to protect these rights that we so often take for granted. Certainly if you watch the news these days, there's many people who get offended for certain things. And I think part of that is because we're an isolated country. Unlike a lot of countries in Europe and elsewhere in the world, we don't bump up into a lot of other countries, and a lot of folks in our country don't interact with others. I can tell you what my stepfather, an Army veteran, would say about those who get offended sometimes by what people say or what's written on chalk on the sidewalk. He'd say, life's not fair. But to give you an idea of people and some of the rights that we enjoy that we take for granted, I had an opportunity about 6 months ago to host a delegation from Serbia at City Hall, and the city manager and I were there along with an alderman, Bob Dunn, and we were there and we thought they wanted to come and talk to us about how we made Elmhurst very successful. And I can tell you what was very eye-opening. For about the first half of the meeting, every time we talked about a project and why we did a project, we talked about the parking deck, we talked about the new apartments buildings we were building, we talked about a new fitness center that we were building in town. These people would stop and ask us not why we were doing it, they asked us how we were doing it. They ended every question, every conversation, well, who gave you permission to do that? Did you check with the state? Did you check with the government to do that? Kind of looked at him and said, well, I mean, I think we asked them for a little bit of money. Then you just went ahead and did it? Yeah, and every project, 3 in a row. Oh, we have to stop you there. Who allowed you to do that? These are the kind of freedoms that we enjoy here in the United States that we take for granted every day. For many of us, our association with the armed forces is considered anecdotal. I didn't serve. However, I can tell you this, we do enjoy the benefits of the work of the military every day of our lives that we live in America. In closing, to put it more succinctly, why do we have a military? Why are we here honoring our veterans today? As John Kennedy said, we arm to parlay. Very succinct. We arm so that we can be who we want to be, who our Creator said, as our founding fathers said, our inalienable rights. So for those rights and freedoms you protect, we say thank you to the men and women of our armed forces. Thank you all. May God bless Elmhurst. May God bless all members of the armed forces, and may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you very much. And now musical selection by Hal.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to, please join me in the singing of God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Hal. And now we will place our wreaths. First will be the VFW and the VFW Auxiliary. The American Legion and American Legion Auxiliary. United States Marine Corps. And our Mayor, Steve Morley. Thank you all. And now I'd like to invite John Quigley, President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce, to read the names of our deceased veterans since Memorial Day. John, thank you.
Bill, since the mayor was willing to jump on you a little bit ago, I'm not going to hesitate to do it. Bill likes to think of himself as a General Patton kind of guy. Well, when Patton ran into bad weather, Bill, he called his clergy and he said, "Write me a prayer for good weather." And that prayer was answered. So, Bill, next year at this time, I expect you will have gathered any clergy, any chaplain, any reverend, any minister, and you will have multiple prayers for better weather than this. It is always my honor at both the Memorial Day parade ceremony, post-parade ceremony, and this ceremony to read the names of those who have left us since we last gathered. I have nearly 80 names to read in the last 6 months. Lore F. Alamprezi, Albert Wayne Ashworth, James I. Barney, John Dreyer, Carl F. Efkin, Harold W. Eichelman, Rudolph A. Ewert, Gerard V. Ferenga, Jack R. Ferris, Thomas J. Freeman, Kenneth F. Gerleman, Edward J. Greben, James M. Green, Robert T. Gruber, Carl A. Hansen, Anthony Gregory Holland, Marvin W. Jefferson, Kenneth A. Cabot, Robert A. Cobby, George King, Frank S. Kish, John Kling, Albert Klopas, James E. Kokinis, Jack Ellen Kostiwa, Virgil D. Kusera, George Kujawa, Arthur P. LeBeau, James Paul Lee, Charles Luther, Peter Maniasi Jr., Raymond J. Maple, Dean E. March, John Matheson, Joseph Mauger, David Mears, John W. Meyer, Lawrence R. Myers, James J. Magala, Gregory C. Moser, Paul A. Mueller, Charles T. O'Brien, Louis Olmedi Sr., Chester Ornis, Robert J. Peters, Daniel Palazic, Lillian June Ray, Arthur F. Freeman, John C. Reese, Edward Rosengren, Benjamin F. Savaglio, Ralph J. Schutt, Vernon W. Schweitzhall, Richard Norris Spur, Bernard D. Sterner, Richard Story, Robert E. Sway, Eugene Unti, Arthur Villa, Joseph A. Willega, Bernard W. Webb, Joseph R. Winkler, and Arthur J. Wadniski. As I ask every year when we gather, remember them in your hearts, remember them in your minds, but leave them today with a rousing round of applause.
Thank you, John. Rifle squad, fire a 3-round volley. Juggler. Cat. Preset. Hook. Order. Hunt. And now, Sean Costello with the musical selection. Thank you. I'll let Brian know you did a great job for us this year. That's his brother. And now I'd like to invite Reverend Stanley Harding for our benediction.
And if you wouldn't mind, I would like to invite you to rise, please, to receive the benediction. Now may the God of peace, who said, "Blessed are the peacemakers," keep in his care all those who serve the cause of peace and surround them with his care today and always. Go in peace. Amen.
Retire the colors. Let's get you. Two announcements before we close. Number one is there's a concert at Elmhurst College. It's beginning at 12 noon for all the veterans and their families in the community. Second, tonight we have our second military ball. Cocktails at 6. Dinner will be at 7 and dancing around 8:30. We do have a special guest that's returning this year. Mr. Lincoln will be there. So if you want to talk to him, get your picture taken with him, stop by. Well, the only thing I can say in closing is I hope I was a better soldier than Master of Ceremonies. Thanks for being here. Starting this fall, the City of Elmhurst will begin a citywide water meter changeout project requiring all residential and commercial water meters to be replaced. This project is needed because the majority of the city's meters are over 25 years old and have exceeded their life expectancy. The city has experienced many years of 18 to 20% of unaccounted for water. The city has hired Siemens as contractors to replace all water meters with highly accurate, non-moving part mechanical water meters that will aid in detecting leaks. The new water meters have the ability to provide on-demand reads as well as leak and tampering alerts and early identification of leaks before they surface. A customer portal will also be available for residents to electronically monitor for leaks and manage their water consumption online.
Elmhurst water customers can expect to receive an introductory letter with project information. Project updates will regularly be posted on the city's website and social media pages. Residents are also encouraged to attend informational open house events that will be scheduled at City Hall. The water meter changeout project is expected to occur through spring of 2018 and is mandatory for all residents and businesses. The project will be completed in sections throughout the city. When Siemens is approaching a neighborhood, residents in the area will be sent a series of postcards requesting to schedule an appointment. Residents are asked to be responsive and schedule an appointment once this notification is received. The new water meter will be installed at no additional cost. Residents will be expected to have an adult over the age of 18 years old home at the time of appointment, which should take no more than 30 minutes to complete. Residents should attempt to locate their water meter in advance and ensure the meter is accessible for Siemens at the time of the appointment. On the date of the water meter changeout, the resident should take precautions and look for the logo on the installer's uniform and vehicle and make sure the installer's ID is visible before allowing the installer to enter the home. All of Siemens installers will be identified with an ID badge and will be driving marked vehicles. They will also be wearing project shirts with the project logo. Once the installer enters the home, residents will be asked to guide the installer to the location of the water meter. The installer will take the following steps to complete the water meter changeout. First, the installer will turn the water off at the main valve. Then the installer will exchange the old meter with the new meter. The installer will then turn the water back on, confirm proper flow direction, and inspect the installation to make sure no leaks are visible. The installer will connect the communication wire to the new meter and test to make sure a meter reading can be obtained. Finally, the installer will ensure that the work area is clean around the new water meter before leaving. During the installation process, the installer will take pictures of the old and new water meter. Once the water meter installation is complete, the installer will give the resident information on how to read the new meter and gain access to an online program called WaterSmart. WaterSmart is an online portal where residents can view account information, monitor daily water consumption, detect leaks, and set up notification alerts. The installer will also give the resident information on how to complete a customer service survey. Once the water meter is replaced, residents will receive a bill that will look the same as previous bills, but will include any remaining water use on the old meter, along with any cumulative use on the new meter. All subsequent bills will only include use from the new meter. A noticeable difference in the new bill will include uses registered in gallons versus cubic meters. Any billing questions should be directed to the city's utility billing department by calling 630-530-3111. The City of Elmhurst would like to thank all water customers for their cooperation during this important city project. Please visit www.elmhurst.org/water-meter-changeout for more information and to find out what area Siemens is currently working in. For questions on the installation process, please contact Siemens at 866-260-3176.